kale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yah prayati samadbhavam yati nasti atra samsayah. So anyone who remembers me at the time of death, then what will happen? He will attain to madbhavan, right? Antakale means at the time of death. Cha mam eva, he should remember me alone. Smaran, remembering. Muktva kalevaram, while leaving his body. Yah prayati, he goes where? Samadbhavam, to my abode, my nature. Yati nasti atra samsaya, there is no doubt about it. That means if we remember God at the time of death, certainly we will go to Supreme Lord. And we saw it from the story of Vrittasura, who somehow or other became a demon, but because he remembered the Supreme Lord at the time of death, he went to the spiritual world, right? Although Indra, he apparently won the fight, won the battle, but he remained as king of material world, while Vrittasura, although a demon, by remembering the Supreme Lord, he went to the spiritual world. So this is the general law, that whatever we remember at the time of death, that we will get, right? This is called law of last thought. Whatever you're thinking at the last moment of your, while you're leaving your body, that is what you're going to become in the next life, right? So we'll recite this sloka also. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajati ante kalevaram tam tam evaiti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavita. So we see that how Bharat Maharaj is such an exalted, devotee, but still somehow or other, he got distracted from yoga, and he remembered at the last moment of his death, his deer, right? He had become so affectionate and he was always thinking of deer. And therefore, in the next life, he became a deer, although not an ordinary deer, but a very exalted deer. He could remember his past life and he was very, very cautious later on. But we see that, this law of nature is very strict. Whatever we remember at the time of death, that is what we become, So nowadays people don't know these things. They don't know that, how they are getting, distracted in life, right? People get distracted to so many things, If you just imagine, like, what they're going to become, you can just imagine. So many people are, addicted to so many different things, isn't it? If you just check people's mind, what they're addicted to or what they're attached to, they are not very good things, right? Certainly they're not spiritual, because that is the test. So in India or in Vedic culture, you'll find that people always has this understanding that we have to remember God ultimately. Therefore, they would keep the name of children related to God, or name of their house related to God, like that. Or also they'll find that in India there are so many festivals, almost every month you'll find that there are 3-4 festivals. Every occasion there is a festivity and God is glorified, God is remembered. A child is born, we remember God, right? We perform some puja. When child starts walking, there is another this thing, So everything you'll see, when there is a harvest, again we offer first offering to God. So you'll find that in Vedic culture, people are always conscious of this rule, that we have to remember God at the time of death. So therefore they would, center their lives around God. People used to go to their different occupation, and when they returned back home in the evening, they would have devotional songs, or they would recite from Ramayana, Mahabharata. They would discuss about God, like that. So whatever was once occupation, but the center was Supreme Lord, because this is the examination that we have to pass. Suppose one is a prime minister, right? He's very, very important personality, but suppose at the time of death, because he has engaged in so many bad activities, being on a high position, he became addicted to so many bad things, politics, diplomacy, and other sinful activities. Then what is the destination after death? You're very good, as long as you are in this prime minister body, but what you'll become after death? So that is not very palatable. So therefore, Lord Krishna is saying a very important statement, right? That you have to work in this world, but you don't forget me, right? Just because you have to work, you should not forget me. And not that you also give up your work because you have to remember me, right? So this is very, very practical for all of us, whoever wants to, live in this world and act, but at the same time achieve the spiritual perfection. So we'll recite this verse and understand its meaning. Tasmat sarvesu kalesu. Therefore, tasmat sarvesu, that means at all times. Kalesu, all times, right? Sarvesu means all and kalesu means time. That therefore at all times. Mam anusmara. What you should do at all time? You should remember me. Anusmara, remember. Mam, me. And yuddhacha, at the same time fight also. Okay, so at all time what you have to do? You have to remember me and the same time fight also. Now one may ask a question that how is it possible, sir, that I will do two things at one time? How is it possible? We have to do multitasking. You told that we should focus on one thing at a time. So how is that possible? That is possible if we do the next two lines or the next line. What is that? Mai arpita mano buddhir. You offer your mind and intelligence to me. How is that? Just like you see, the mother may be engaged in so many activity, but in the back of her mind, her intelligence and mind are always thinking of the child. And therefore, whatever she is doing is to take care of the child, isn't it? Like suppose when the child is very small, the mother would, sometimes keep him, or put him to rest, to sleep. But she's always thinking, she's always, her mind is on the child. So any small sound she will hear and immediately she will come to attend the child, And even while she's working, she's always thinking what all things to do to make the child comfortable. So when we are, our mind is, it is a common saying that you are where your mind is, right? So sometimes we see that, a person is absorbed in some thought, and therefore even though he may be doing physically something else, but his mind is completely absorbed in something else, isn't it? It happens. Like we see that sometimes we go, I have experienced that, we go to railway station, and what happens, one time I was on a railway station, and then what happened, I have very great fascination for reading some kind of, books. So I like stories related to God and this thing. So on one station I got down and I started reading something. I was very much interested. I was reading it, and I was standing on the same platform. The train was just beside me, and I started reading. I could not realize that, the train is moving. So you see, I was standing there. I was, but my mind was somewhere else because it was absorbed in something else. So I could not observe that the train is moving and now it is the time to go. So we see that when our mind is somewhere, we are there. So therefore Lord Krishna is saying that, although you are fighting, this is a very, great job, very tedious job. To fight is not, any inattention and you will be killed. If you are little inattentive in war, your head will be chopped off. So it is not a joke. But at the same time, even in such situation, Lord Krishna is saying, you remember me, right? Because if you don't remember me, then you will act according to your mind's desire, right? Your mind will say that, I don't like this person, let me kill him, even if it does not deserve killing. So if your mind is attached to me, then you will work for me. That is the point. And if you work like that, mam evaisyasi asamsaya, then it is sure that you will come back to me. Therefore, when we work in this world, we should always remember that why we are working. We are working for God. So remembering God, we should work and apply our full intelligence, how to serve God through that work, right? So we may be anything, right? We may be a student, we may be doctor or any other profession. But if our mind is always thinking how I can best serve God, then it is perfect, perfect yoga. There's no need to change the position if you can do that like that. Okay. So then this is the sloka which comes in Srimad Bhagavatam, that नोत्तम श्लोकवार्तानां जुष्टां तत्कथामृतं स्यात् सम्भ्रमोऽन्तकालेऽपि स्मरतां तत्पदाम्बुजम्. It is telling about great souls, that great souls, because they always engage in, talking about and, working for the Supreme Lord, then what happens? Even at the time of death, they can remember the Supreme Lord. To remember the Supreme Lord at the time of death is not an easy thing. Right? One cannot remember God unless he is very, very pure. Right? You can just imagine the time of death is not an ordinary time. Just like, if you close your eyes now and want to think of something, you can immediately think of, isn't it? Just close your eye and if you want to think of America, immediately you can think of America. Oh yes, America is such a big country, such a prosperous country. You can think of, make some mental images. But the time of death is not like this. What is time of death? We can just imagine. It is said in Shastra that time of death is so painful that person sometimes faints. That pain one gets is compared to biting off, I think, 7,000 scorpions together. Right? That is the pain of death. And we cannot understand how is that pain, but I'll just give you a little glimpse how you can understand that pain. Okay. So what happens at time of death? Everything is taken away, right? Your body itself is taken away. Now, just let us try to imagine what kind of pain a person will feel. Okay. Now, all of you just imagine for a moment, you have got so many things, isn't it? You have got so many things which you want, which you like. Like I'll tell my own things. Like suppose I have got a laptop, or I have a phone, or I have, say, my friends. Now, suppose, have you lost sometimes something which you like very much and you feel the pain? Have you lost something? All of you might have got experience, isn't it? You like something and you lose it, isn't it? Like, say, for an example, what? Okay, you can give example, whatever you lost and you felt pain. Okay. So, suppose there's so many things that can be lost. Suppose one thing I can remember is, okay, so you lost your comfort zone. That is a good loss. But I mean to say, when we are attached to something and we are forcibly taken, that thing is forcibly taken from us. That is what something that will serve the purpose. We are attached to something and it is forcibly taken. Okay, you lose your cricket bat and kit. Okay. So this is a good example, I think. So have you lost it and you felt the pain? Or you're just saying that if I lose, you'll feel the pain? Okay, if you will. Yes. So suppose I cannot immediately think of anything like that, but I have such experiences, that is for sure. Um, yes. Yes. Something I can tell you. All of us are very attached to our honor, isn't it? If someone, there is some, um, say, some spot on our character or to our this thing, we immediately feel very embarrassed, isn't it? So one time, just happened recently to me. So actually, I was supposed to do something, write a mail, to someone. And then what happened, that my friend, he was following me up so, so much. I just told him that, yes, yes, I have written the mail, just to get rid of his follow up. So I told him that, I have written the mail, don't worry. And I had not actually written the mail. I could not get time and I thought that I'll do it. Why is so much, following me up? And then what happened, that somehow or other, he he got a appointment from the person to whom I was supposed to write the mail. Okay. Because the appointment was that you'll write the mail and then we'll go and meet that person. Okay. So that was a big man. He was a director of some school. So then he told that, somehow or other we are going now. You come. So I was now thinking, I have not written the mail. I have not written the mail. And now I was praying to Supreme Lord, my Lord, please save me. I have not written the mail, and now we are going to meet, and he will say that we had written you a mail. So you can just see, if our little bit of our honor or whatever we are attached to, if it is taken away, or there's even a little chance that it will be taken away, how much uncomfortable we feel, isn't it? Or just like he was giving example, Rians was giving, that suppose, I lose my cricket bat and kit, how much do you feel, isn't it? Or suppose I lose, say, my laptop, how much pain it would be, isn't it? So much. Like I remember that one of my friends, we traveled to Vrindavan some time back, maybe few months back, and he lost his phone, right? And uh, his whole yatra got spoiled, isn't it? He was always thinking, oh, I had so many things in my phone. He was not worried about the money that he lost, but he was worried about, so much of important things are there. Huh? And all of these things will be lost. Yes. So we lose all these things, isn't it? Headphones or laptop. So how do you feel? Now just imagine, one thing is lost, how much pain we feel. Can you imagine at the time of death what will happen? Your all bank balance will be taken away. Just imagine, a person has earned millions of dollars and he has kept it very nicely over 50 years in the bank, and everything will be taken away. He'll be separated from that. What else? He'll be separated from all the, wife, children, relatives, friends, brothers, everyone. What else? He'll be, you know, he'll be forced to, give up his position, whatever he has in society, whatever position he has in nation, everything he'll have to leave. He'll have to leave the fame that he has accumulated. He will have to leave the knowledge that he has accumulated, uh, we do have to give it to our family. Yeah, but you are separated from it, na? Even if suppose you give the money to the family, but you are separated at the time of death, you cannot keep it with you. And you will also be separated from the family as well, right? You don't know where you are going. So when a person is at the time of death, at that time, that I'm saying, just that pain a person feels, right? You can just imagine, if one thing lost is so much pain, what about so many things lost? You lose all the money, all the relatives, you lose whom you love so much, you love even the body, right? You even lose the body is also taken, and you're not never going to meet them again. Yes, right? The body, right? Person can still live if the relative die, right? The person can still live if the money is lost, right? He can live alone, right? The person can still live if he's dishonored in society. A person can still live, if uh, he loses all the education, he forgets everything. But a person cannot live without the body we have, taken care from the birth till death. We take care so much to take care of the body nicely. If it is, and you see that all the family members are crying. So this is the pain of death. So at the time of death, can you think that a person can easily remember whatever he wants? Can he remember America if he wants? No. His mind is so absorbed, just like we lose a little thing and mind is completely absorbed. Oh, I lost this, like that. So you can just imagine the time of death will be so much of painful, and you cannot remember anything. You can only remember that thing which you are completely attached to. So if you have prepared your life in such a way that you have completely remembered the Supreme Lord, dedicating everything to Supreme Lord throughout the life, then only it is possible to remember the Supreme Lord. So see here, we see His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada here. What he was doing at the time of death, he was translating and telling about God, because he had dedicated his life to God. Therefore, even at the time of death, it is possible for him to think about God. So this is a great test, right? And I have told this story or not? Ajamila story? No? Ajamila story is done? Ajamila? No. Okay, so we have approximately 20 minutes. Okay, so I'll tell you the story of Ajamila. So Ajamila, how he remembered God at the time of death. Huh? This is also very instructive story. And we can learn that how we can also practically remember God at the time of death. This is a practice we have to do, right, during our lifetime. We are maybe we student, later on you may become an engineer or a doctor or any other profession you take, right? You become mother, father, and you become a citizen. You have different duties to do in the world, right? But in doing all those duties, you should always remember that this life is a preparation for that examination that I have to face. And therefore, I should do all my activities dedicating them to Supreme Lord. This is the formula that will help you throughout your life. This verse of Bhagavad Gita, Tasmat Sarvesu Kalesu Mam Anusmara Yuddhacha. Whatever you are doing, that is like a yuddha, but always remember the Supreme Lord, right? Many times people ask this question, right? You say that we have to think of God and all this thing, but we are not saints, right? Yes, death is the most and biggest, most important test. That is true, because that will decide about our journey after this life. This life is only a small span in the eternal journey, right? We are eternal, and therefore our journey is eternal. We have got eternal life, and this is only a small point, you can say, in that big line. So we have to be very careful to see that. Yeah, so what I was telling is, yeah, so this verse of Bhagavad Gita can help you. Whatever you become, whatever you do in life, please remember this, right? How many years do we get to live? It is eternal. Spiritual world is never ending, right? I'll just show you a verse from Bhagavad Gita. Thank you for asking this question. About the spiritual world. Huh? This is from, I think, 15th chapter, 6th verse. न तद्भासते सूर्यो न शशांको न पावका यद्गत्वा न निवर्तन्ते तद्धाम परमं मम. So what Lord Krishna is saying? Na tad bhasate suryo. That means that place, that abode of mine is not illumined by Surya. There's no sun there, no need of sun. Na sasanko na pavaka. There's no moon or fire or electricity. These things are not required there because it is self-effulgent. You know, like we see things in this world, they are not self-effulgent. They are all, dark. But in spiritual world, everything is chinmay, right? It is self-effulgent. And yad gatva na nivartante tad dhama paramam mama. If you go there, yad gatva, having gone there, na nivartante, never come back. There's no coming back. Tad dhama paramam mama. That is my supreme abode. Yeah, you can read this line. Yes, Reyans, please read this.
Okay. That supreme abode of mine is not illumined by the sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world.
Yes. So that is the uh, this is material world, and that is spiritual world, right? And there are more descriptions about it, right? Maybe in one of the classes I'll just show you what is, our position, where we are, what is material world, what is spiritual world. All of that is, very nicely given in a diagram. I'll just show you, maybe in the next class I can show you. Yeah. So what we're doing, yeah, I was telling you that this verse of Bhagavad Gita will help us. We should always remember that what is my um, real duty, what is my real uh, occupation, that I have to prepare for death. Okay, so now let us see the story of Ajamila, how he remembered God at the time of death. This is a very instructive story, so I'll just tell you about this story. So who was Ajamila? Ajamila was actually a Brahmana, and he, I just want to see if I can get some PPT. So Ajamila was actually a Brahmana, and he was a very noble man, and he used to do all the different kinds of activity that a Brahmana should perform. Like he used to read the Vedas, and he used to perform yajnas. He used to control his mind and senses. All these things he used to do. No, just give me 1 minute. Okay, unable to find anything. I'll just tell you. So this Ajamila was actually a nice Brahmana, and yes, so you can see here. So he was a young Brahmana, a Jamil, and he had all the good qualities, and he was very nice in behavior, mild, gentle, truthful. He knew, he used to recite all the Vedic literatures, and he was very pure. So one day what happened that, his father asked him to go to the forest and bring some fruit, flower, grasses for yajna. So while he was collecting, and in the jungle he saw uh, you know two lusty, men and women, and he was actually affected by seeing this scene. you know Both of them were drunk, and they were singing and doing all those activities which greatly affected him. And by when Ajamila saw all this, bad desires within his heart awakened, and he became completely illusioned, right? So we see that Lord Krishna also tells in Bhagavad Gita second chapter that how a person falls down. Dhyayeto visyan pumsa sangaste supajayate. We have read this verse. Dhyayeto visyan pumsa. So Lord Krishna said that when we see something and when we contemplate on that object, then what happens? We develop a attachment for that, isn't it? We develop a attachment for that, and as a result of that attachment, what happens? We ध्यायते विषयान पुंसा संगस ते सुपजायते संगस संजायते काम कामा क्रोधो अभिजायते. So just show you that sloka. Here, this is the cause of fall down. When we contemplate, then what happens? Attachment, right? We develop a desire, and if that desire is fulfilled, it becomes greed. Not fulfilled, it becomes anger. From anger, what happens? We become confused. We lose all our memory of what is right, what is wrong. Intelligence is lost, and then we fail. So same happened in case of Ajamila also, right? Ajamila was a very nice, learned Brahmana, and he was practicing all the spiritual things, but he was not very mature. Therefore, when he saw this scene, he actually became disturbed, and by that contamination that he saw, he began to lose all his qualities, right? Contemplation. We started with contemplation, seeing something bad. Then we develop a little desire. Oh, if it would be good, it will give me happiness. Although we know that from Shastra that it is not good, it will give us, bad result. But still we develop a desire. And then confusion, anger, confusion. He became angry with his gentle wife, and he, gave up his wife. He gave up his parents as well, because he wanted to bring that prostitute in the home, right? And as a result, he gave up all the religious principles, right? Jamila gives up all the religious principles just to accept this lady. And then what happens is, he lives a very sinful life, right? He lives a very sinful life because to satisfy her demands, he has to beg, borrow, steal. He takes to such business. He begins to eat meat, drink wine because of bad association, and he begins to cheat people, kill them, loot them. Somehow or other, he has to get money to fulfill his illicit desires. So then, what happens? At the time of death, because he had done so many sinful activities, what happens? At the time of death, who comes to take him? Yamdutas. So you can see here in this picture that he is 88 years old at that time. I think, yeah, 80 years old or something. And then he is, at the deathbed. And at that time, what happens? He has a small child, his 11th son. So you can just imagine, even at that age, he had a son. So he was so attached. So material activity. So he had a son named Narayana. And when he sees Vishnu Dutas, they are very, very horrible, right? Vishnu Dutas are, no, not Vishnu Duta, Yam Dutas. So Yam Dutas are very, very horrible, right? You can see their faces. So when he sees them, he became very, very afraid, right? And out of fear, when you are in fear, I just told you that you can only remember what you are completely attached to. So he was completely attached to his small son. So he was always telling Narayana, please come here. Narayana, please bring me glass of water. Narayana, please eat this. Narayana, please see this. So whatever he used to do, he used to do with his son. So he was very, very attached to his son. So at the time of death, what he does, he calls, when he sees this Vishnu Dutas, out of great anxiety, he calls Narayana, like that. And then what happens? When he calls out with so much of eagerness the name of Lord Narayana, who comes there? 4 Vishnu Dutas. You can see here they're self-effulgent, right? He was in a room which was very, very dark, right? Vedic times, after sunset, there is no light practically. So the room was very, very dark. And when he sees this Yamdutas coming, he's so fearful. And when he calls Narayana like that, in so desperate condition, the 4 Vishnu Dutas come and they are self-effulgent. The whole room becomes bright. And they are so powerful, they looks as good as Lord Narayana, right? Because in Vaikuntha Loka, all the different devotees, they have Sarupya Siddhi. That means they have the same form as Lord Narayana. There is only one difference, that Lord Narayana has got a money, what is that money called? Uh, Kaustubh money. Kaustubh money is there in his chest, which represents Mother Lakshmi. Others, they don't have. So this is the only difference. So when these all 4 very beautiful lotus-eyed bluish form, they have 4 hands, Sankh, Chakra, Gada, Padma, looking very beautiful. When they approach all the Vishnu Dutas, they become very, very fearful. So you can see here that what happens is, at the time of death, the person, his subtle body is taken up. You can see that he's lying here, but his subtle body is he's lying here, but the subtle body is taken out. Subtle body means the body made of mind, intelligence, and ego, with which we identify. And the gross body remains as it is, and the subtle body is taken to wherever it is to be taken, and then it is given punishment and given another body. So subtle body is injected into another gross body, and from there the person begins another life. So like that it happens. So yeah, so when they see all these Vishnu Dutas, they are very, very amazed. And the Vishnu Duta is telling that you cannot take him away. So he said that you don't know, sir, he has done so many sinful activities. He is a very rightful candidate to go to Yamloka and get punished. So they say, no, there is no sin on his part, because he has chanted the name of Lord Narayana. All his sins, not only of this life, but of many, many millions of lifetime he has committed, all those sins are completely removed, completely burned to ashes by the effect of the chanting of his holy names offenselessly. So then there is a argument between Yamdutas and Vishnu Dutas, and ultimately Vishnu Dutas win, and they Yamdutas, they leave, right? So then when Ajamila now is in this condition, and he understand that I have been saved by mercy of Supreme Lord. At that time he very much laments, oh, I was such a such a nicely practicing devotion to Lord Narayana, and somehow by my material desires I fell down into this condition. Now I must completely give up everything. So now when Yamduta leave, he want to thank Vishnu Dutas, but Vishnu Dutas don't give him any audience. They just leave without having any conversation with him. So but he feels very, very grateful to Vishnu Dutas, and he makes up his mind that now no more, I'm not going to commit any sin, I'm not going to be here also. He just leaves home, and completely in great determination he goes to Haridwar and lives a life of devotional service, practicing austerities and controlling his mind and senses completely. And then for 12 years he performs devotional service with great determination and focus. And then at the end of his life, what happens? The same 4 Vishnu Dutas which had come to save him, they come and they take him to the spiritual world, right? And the Jamila gets a spiritual body, and then he goes back to Vaikuntha. So this is a very instructive story, and why we are discussing this was about how we can remember the Supreme Lord at the time of death, right? So yeah, I'll just recite this sloka and the meaning will see. So this is a sloka regarding that only, right? So Mriyamano harer nama grinan putropacharitam ajamilo api agadhama kim uta shraddhaya grinan. So this is very instructive. I'll just show you the meaning. 6 to 49. It is saying that, just by calling his son Ajamila, got the destination of going to spiritual world. What if someone, chants the names of God with faith, right? Yes, please recite this one. Okay. While
While
suffering at
suffering,
the yeah,
while suffering at the time of death, Ajamila chanted the holy names of Lord, and although the chanting was directed towards his son, he nevertheless returned home, back to the Godhead. Therefore,
yes.
if one
No, no,
faithfully
no.
and
Oh yeah. Yes, please.
therefore, if one faithfully and inoffensively chants the holy names of the Lord, where is the doubt he will return to Godhead?
Yes. So we see that just by calling his son in an offenseless way, he got to return back to Godhead. If one can chant faithfully and inoffensively, this is very important that we chant with faith and without any offenses, then surely we can also attain the same destination. So therefore it is recommended that whatever we are doing, we should uh, follow some principles like chanting the names of God and not doing any sinful activities. Then whatever we are doing, whatever occupational duty we are doing, we can go back to God at the end of our lives. So this is the practice we have to do, right? Abhyas yogi yuktena chetasa nanya gamina paramam purusam divyam yati parth anuchintan. This is a practice, abhyas, that we have to do, right? And yes, the greatest example of this is the gopis. Although they are engaged in so many different activities, they are, taking water, they are making flowers, they are taking care of their children, and they are, cleaning their houses. They are um, preparing butter, all this thing, whatever they are doing, household activity, but their mind is completely absorbed in thought of Supreme Lord Krishna. So like that. So remembering is only possible if we can remember someone only if there is love. And the process to attain that love is devotional service. 9 process of devotional service help us to attain that position. What are the 9 process of devotional service? Sravanam, hearing about God. Kirtanam, speaking about God or chanting his holy names. Sravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. Smaranam, remembering him. Pad Sevanam, serving his lotus feet. Archanam, worshipping him. Vandanam, offering prayers. Dasyam, becoming his servant. Dasyam, Sakhyam, becoming his friend. Atmanivedanam, completely offering ourselves to Supreme Lord. So these are the 9 processes by which we can revive that love, and we can also go back to the spiritual world. So we'll discuss more about this, and this is a very good chapter. Yeah, this is the whole universe that I was saying. So this is one universe, and there, like that, there are many, many universes, right? Many, many universes. And out of all those universes, uh, after that, there is spiritual abode. Okay. So thank you very much for joining today. Hare Krishna.